35,000 in, and you already have, over 200 grand worth of revenue plus equity coming in. What is going on, guys? Welcome to today's episode of the Collecting Keys Real Estate Investing podcast. Today is Monday. This is the Scale Show. And this episode, these kind of scale shows are always about hearing from other growing real estate operators so that you can hear what the people that are actually doing the hard work on the ground are doing to find success in this very competitive business of off-market real estate investing. And today we have Shane Schrader, who has been a scale member for coming up on a year. And dude, you are one of my favorite, I guess I can say success stories, because you've had some pretty big successes, but you've been able to leave your lucrative W-2. You are slinging some deals in Central Washington, and you're also just like a super cool dude that's super active in the community. So Shane, man, really excited to have you on the show today. To give everyone a sort of general bearing about where things currently stand with you, give us a quick little rundown of who you are, where exactly you're based, and what your team currently looks like.
Yeah. Thanks for that awesome intro, Mike. I don't know if it's all true or what, but yeah, it works. Yeah, my name's Shane Schrader. I'm out of Central Washington. Primarily are doing business in the Yakima Valley, a little bit in Kittitas Valley, a little bit in Wenatchee. Yeah, that's kind of my main areas that I market to. Doing deals in those areas. Team as far as what it looks like right now, it's just me. I've downsized with the idea to try and restructure everything now that I've kind of been in the business, learning what's going on, and we're going to restructure and try and go after it pretty hardcore next year.
Cool. And as humble as can be, I guess for a little bit more context, give everyone a basic rundown about what your life and career and everything looked like a year ago versus what it looks like right now.
Sure. When I first kind of joined Scale Community, I had one duplex as a rental. I was a journeyman lineman, had been for 20 years, looking for a big change, just kind of just like your story, Mike. I just felt sick of what I was doing. Knew it wasn't the right move to stay where I currently was. And yeah, joined the community in September last year and just started getting really focused on what it was going to take to do this full time. I ended up leaving the W-2 in, I think, February, and just went all in there. Pulled the plug on everything and said, send it.
Yeah. And the thing I like to emphasize with that too, is if you guys are unfamiliar with what a lineman is, you're basically like the special forces of every utility out there, right? Like you were making big bucks out there doing the dangerous electrical work. And the funny thing is I would say, if I'm being completely honest, the success rate that I have seen with people that have very high paying jobs like that try to get into full-time real estate is significantly lower than people that come from nothing. Because like, honestly, that's freaking hard to replace and that's hard to walk away from. And so huge testament to you to being able to, I would say, figure stuff out enough to feel comfortable doing that. And also to like, just be courageous enough to do it. Cause like most people won't even willingly risk that. Right. So very, very cool.
I was going to say too, I remember I talked to Shane and I were at the first KeysCon event together. And we just got left the KeysCon and he's basically talking about quitting his job and all that stuff. And I was like, I'd give it to you, man. I already done it, but to leave a 6-figure, ish paying job like that is tough, but you also have to have a supportive spouse along with that too. But Shane, real quick, those areas that you mentioned, where are those in proximity to where you live? Like, is it in your own backyard, or is this kind of what you consider virtual wholesaling?
No, it's definitely more in my backyard. It's only about a half hour outside of where I actually live. So I'm able to make it down personally for appointments, schedule contractors, be the boots on the ground guy.
Okay. So when you said send it, and when you did all that, how did you first start? Did you go straight into direct mail? Did you try any other marketing channels, or what did that look like, and what does it look like now?
Yeah, I was pretty much ignorant to all of what happens on the wholesale side. And I felt extremely comfortable with Mike and Dan and the community and seeing what others were doing. It really helped me out within that first month. Obviously went down to KeysCon and seeing guys like yourself. And it really opened my eyes to like, hey, this can really happen. Just follow the program that they have going on. And so direct mail was my first way of marketing. And I just followed what was instructed in the scale program.
Thank you. I appreciate that. The funniest thing too is I would say that some of the more, I would say like successful people that have come through, and this even just like in scale, this isn't like fully a scale promo, but just like in every group or every kind of business, is you find what successful people are doing and just copy them. Like everyone always tries to find like their special secret thing, but they don't have any experience. So like, what are you trying to do differently? Just like copy the good people. You know how in school they said you shouldn't plagiarize people? In business, is the opposite. You should plagiarize everyone that's better than you.
Being a
and
shameless
just do the exact same
is
thing.
what I heard someone say at one time, and I was like, it's stuck. Yeah.
Yeah, seriously though. So, I mean, even Steve Jobs, I think, what was it is, I think Steve Jobs said this, I might be misquoting it, but it's good entrepreneurs create, or maybe it's good engineers create, great engineers steal.
Yeah.
Is that Steve Jobs?
I don't know. It sounds like an Elon Musk thing though too. So it could be.
Yeah, it's there's probably somewhere where that's attributed to Martin Luther King or some other bullshit on some fake meme, but that's an Instagram problem. Yeah, man. So started this out copying system, which is great. What are your current deal types looking like? Are you almost exclusively wholesaling? Are you doing some flips? Are you doing some buy and hold stuff?
Yeah. So right now I'm about 60% wholesale. I think like 25% flips and 15% buy and hold. Total to this year to date, I've done 8 deals.
Nice.
And 5 of those were wholesale deals. And then the other 2 are flips, and then one's going to be a renovation to a buy and hold. 2 of those I have really good owner financing on. Went that route with, ended up taking those down with some owner financing, which was great. Cool. And then so overall it's the wholesale side of things kept the business open and going and funded those flips. And the exit on those flips should be happening, one at the end of this month, and then hopefully one before the end of the year. And that'll lay out a great runway for next year.
And then Shane, I guess to touch on that, how quickly did that first deal come after you first started marketing?
Let's see. First deal came, I think, at month 5 is when I initiated the contact with the seller.
Okay.
Yeah.
And was it so? Okay, so from you started in January, I'm just making that up, but then you didn't get that first deal until May. It's a 5-month interval between those two things.
Yep, I started in September and didn't get that deal closed till I believe February or March.
And were you consistent with the marketing during that time?
I was, yes. I actually ramped it up, if anything. Started out slowly just because I didn't quite fully understand, the whole process, right? But once I did and seen that the mailers worked, and then it went to the right people, and I started getting phone calls, and then it gave me that confidence just to double it. So I doubled it the second month, and then I doubled it again the third month, and just kind of kept at that $4,000.
You said send it.
Yeah, $4,000 a month rate all the way till currently. And like I said, we're gonna double it again and try and pick this thing up.
Yeah, and well, it's funny because you said doubled it twice, but you're still only at $4,000 too. So I would say that that's very, very low relatively, right? Mm-hmm. So if you look at what you've totally spent, do you know what your total marketing spend is overall?
Yep, I'm at just about 35 and a half, so 35,000.
Like period. That's all you spent. You've done 8 deals off that.
Yeah, and it'll generate about 267,000 in generated revenue if all those flips close.
That's like an 8x on your ad spend.
Yeah.
See, and that's such an important freaking detail because you can listen. It's like, 8 deals isn't that much, but you've made $200,000 off a $35,000 investment. That's pretty freaking.
267,500.
Not even including your owner finance structured probably equity in some of that.
That is including the equity.
Is that included?
Okay. I'm sorry. No, it doesn't include I bought both those on 0 down interest rates. And so it doesn't include say if I keep that for the full 5 years, that extra pay down.
Right. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. So, I mean, honestly, at this point, if you continue, even just at the rate you are, pretty safe to say you're going to replace your lineman income if you don't include your overtime that you guys would make silly money on. But
oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I have some other expenses, including, subscriptions and stuff, but they're not real large. The biggest and hardest thing is just getting through these flips. They take a time and they do take extra money up front. So.
Well, Shane, actually on that, a lot of people who get started in real estate investing, me included when I first started, I didn't know shit about rehabs. So did you already have some of that experience, or what gave you the confidence to do the flips instead of wholesaling some of those deals at the beginning, or was it out of necessity?
Well, that was kind of a positive and a negative. Yes, I had flip and renovation experience, and obviously working in the trades and like being the hammer and nail guy, I wasn't afraid of any of that. And I knew, being that I've already gone through it, I knew what things cost and what kind of my market labor rate was. So I wasn't afraid to take down those at all, which on the negative side, it really slowed up my wholesale progression and trying to be as deep as I should have been in that section of the business.
So with that, what are you projected to make on one of these flips versus what could you have wholesaled it for?
So let's see. I guess the one flip, I'll make 80 grand on it. And net 80 on that one. And I probably could have wholesaled that one and made 25.
Okay. So something like that, I would have still flipped it, but I was trying to get to the point. Like there is a balance in here, especially with how long and time intensive these flips take.
Yeah. And you know what the cool thing, and I know everybody has says it before, once you're a wholesaler, you can kind of cherry pick through the deals. So these 3 flips that I was able to take down, I cherry picked the crap out of them. I knew what they were. I knew the condition of the property. Like I had the one that's closing into this month, it's a whole tail. Like we picked it up for 155. We sold it for 250. And so I'll probably walk away with 50, and we put 10 grand into it. So like, you know, that's kind of an example of one deal. And then our other flip, I mean, it was just a simple, knew what needed to happen and we needed to take it down. There was a big enough margin there.
Yeah. Nice, dude. That's amazing. So what is your current, I would say pipeline and process stuff look like doing this full time? Because I know you've been actively involved in your flips too, because you've hopped on to several of our community calls and you're in a house that you're currently working on. And so in the early phases, what is your day to day? How are the leads coming in? Are you answering all your own calls that come in yourself? Are you doing any networking that's helping find more deals or find buyers? What's your daily, weekly work day?
Yeah, pretty much all that. I do everything at the moment. I have been doing everything for the last couple months with those flips going on. So deal wise, just keeping that direct mail going. I do take calls on our CRM app wherever I'm at, try and get back to those immediately. And then basically try and get those appointments scheduled and get over there as fast as I can if it's that day or during that week. That's on the wholesale side and the deal generation side, doing all the transaction coordinating, doing all the disposition. That's grown as I got deals and I started putting them out there. That's where I really found who the buyers were. And now I work directly with those guys and I have them waiting. So as far as a business goes, it's great to have the buyers waiting. Now, you need to go fulfill it. And so that gives the extra motivation. Any downtime that I have, I usually try and get down to the flips. Now I have some pretty good contractors on board. So now I'm basically just project managing a lot of it, but there's still those small things in between that say, guys are going to come do sheetrock and texture and such. And there's still the small things you got to go clean up, trash and get the paint or whatever it is off of fixtures and do things like that. So those little things, I actually have a pretty good strategy going into this next year about how we're going to take care of that and not have it not be me.
Nice. That's one of the most underrated parts of like doing renovations in general is like that final, I don't know, it's like 3%, like putting the
punch list items,
the outlet covers back on, like, you know, all the blue tape items, the punch list items, because like no one wants to do it. And it's hard to find a handyman that's going to come and do it. And then even if you do have a good one, they're always going to like just leave obvious shit for some reason. You'll be like, why did you like not put the light fixture back on the ceiling? Like, what's wrong with you? Right. So you end up having to do it yourself. And to this day, I still haven't found like a good solution, honestly.
Well, but that shit matters. You need to like, even you need to last 3% because a retail buyer presentation matters a lot more than you might think.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But, I think I have a solution to that actually for this next year. I found a guy who was a coach of my son's, and he did project management, and he did little kind of maintenance stuff on some apartment buildings. And he was like, hey man, you know, I've seen what you got going and I think I might be able to help out. And so we're in the talks of like developing him into like his own separate company. So I could just 1099 him and then, you know, put him as like the project manager slash he wants a little bit of fill-in jobs every now and then because he's a stay-at-home dad. His wife has a job, and it will work out perfect for him to fill in those gaps. So that's kind of my plan going into next year, is to utilize him.
That'd be good. How many hours do you think you're working right now, Shane? A day, a week?
12 to 14 hours a day.
Yeah. That's the grind though. And it gets better as you go though, right? You know that.
Yeah.
So what do you like, what is your goals with this thing? What are your goals for the next like 12 months, 2 years? And like, what do you think your biggest constraint is to getting there? Cause you're making money. Could, like, if you were to 3x your marketing next month, why don't you do that? Or maybe you don't want to, right? Everyone had, like, we had a really good talk with Dalen a few weeks ago. And, one of the things that really resonated with a lot of people was the fact that he did want to keep it small, right? And that's an interesting thing to me. So I guess from your perspective, what do you want this business to look like for you, and what's preventing you from getting there right now?
Sure. No, I definitely had a good sit down. And like I said earlier, a restructure kind of thought process about where I want this to be. Just got done reading 10X is greater than 2X, and kind of took a lot of that stuff to heart. And a lot of it really clicked in my mind. So with that going forward, it was like, well, I can't just throw a bunch into marketing because I don't have systems. And at the time, I didn't fully understand what it takes to do all that. Now that I've been in the business, understanding from A to Z and all the letters in between, not just like a quarter of the alphabet, now I know where I want to put those pieces and what I want to handle. So going forward, it's going to be definitely hiring. I'll probably outsource the intake calls to get that off my plate. I really enjoy the sales and talking with the customers, so I'm going to try and stick right in that part of it. And also with that, it helps the deals go through. If we're going to novate it, if we're going to owner finance it, that's really a hard thing to communicate across to sellers unless you have a really good sales guy. So I'm going to stay in that position. And the dispo side, I kind of handle that too. So the rest of it, I feel like it's just the intake calls and kind of the mundane stuff. With those flips, like I said, I'm going to try and bring in that project manager to handle all that stuff. So the flip side will almost be its own entity. But yeah, basically just getting and understanding what the business needs, where I need to hire people, and what that looks like to grow. Because if you just threw all that marketing money out there, I could have 500 leads come in, but I wouldn't have the process to take care of them. So it was really just that understanding.
What does your follow-up process look like with that right now? Because if you're like, that's the biggest thing. Like if you have leads in there, I guess better question, how many leads do you currently have, and how are you like routinely following up with them?
Yeah, I've got about 570 leads. Those are warm leads in the system. About 100, dead leads and other things. But that's the battle. Anytime I try and do an office day, I try and pack it full of just follow-ups, and I just hit them back. See where they're at. I actually just got through about 60 last week, and I have 2 deals that'll probably go under contract this week. We're really close to closing them. It was just they weren't ready at the time, hit them back, and now they're thinking they're ready to sell. So
yeah. Dude, you have that many leads just sitting in there? I mean, like, have you explored bringing on a lead manager, bro? You could get to 2 deals a month changing nothing except having a lead manager. Like, if I look back at when Dan and I's business really started to grow, like the first time that we started to make like money was when we had a good acquisition manager. But the second time was when we got a good lead manager, because all of a sudden, all that money that we had already spent that was just basically sitting in like the lead graveyard became valuable again, because we weren't working it. The AM like was maxed out with their time, because full acquisitions conversations take time, right? It's the really manual time of like doing this labor intensive outreach to these hundreds of leads. Like that is a full-time job. So have you explored that at all yet?
Yeah, I mean, you guys just reinvigorated that too. So with the full send, if I go in and double marketing on top of that, you still have to complete the follow up too, right? So yes, I did have a VA doing or acting as a lead manager doing follow up. She didn't do the best of job, so that opened up how lacking I was on the SOPs for her. But now that I've restructured and kind of looked at that, I've rewritten all the SOPs. I'm right in line with hiring one back again. So that's coming within the next month with everything, is going to be probably hiring another lead manager to continue to do the follow up. But yeah, I mean, it's just hard because it's like you hit this step or hit this barrier that I know to go through it, I have to just go all in and put in the puzzle pieces where they need to be. If I don't, I'm going to be struggling again, and that's not where I want to be. So it's like, got to make sure I hire the correct people and put them in place so that all this, I guess, all the leads coming in and all this activity can be handled correctly.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think for you too, like that role probably looks a little bit different than what we'd recommend for most people, mostly just because what I know about Yakima is you have a very large Hispanic population, right? And Hispanic population plus the more rural area, Filipinos typically probably wouldn't be what I would fully suggest. Like I know we use them a lot in our business. I try and get someone from like, Latin America, Central America somewhere. It costs you a little bit more money, but you get a Spanish speaking lead that comes in. They're going to be able to help you out on that, right?
Definitely.
And not only that, but like their tone and their cadence and the way that they talk is really going to vibe with what is probably a large number of your leads that come in, or at least not an insignificant number.
I was just going to add to that too. The most infuriating thing you get in this business is like your old leads or someone else's new leads, right? So if you come in and you do the follow up and you go to call them and like, oh, I just sold it to what's his name down the street, and you see that they sold it for less than what you even offered them. That just happened to me like 2 weeks ago, right? Like it. So the fortune is in the follow up. I know it's cliche saying, but it's true.
Yeah. 100%. Yep. I mean, even to this day, like we are closing deals that have been in our system for years.
Yep.
We literally signed one 2 weeks ago that I think came into our system in 2021 and was just getting followed up with periodically. Like that's, especially if you're doing targeted marketing like you are, the people are getting targeted for a reason, and it's only like a matter of time before they have more distressed issues. So that makes sense, man. Awesome. So you mentioned like you have a son before, right? I know you're married. How are you're working 12 hours a day? How are you balancing all of this stuff with just like your general life right now? Because that's always one of the biggest challenges I think that newer entrepreneurs have to try and figure out.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to get too like woo woo and all that, but I do focus on like meditating every day. I really started to understand the difference between like Chronos time and Kairos time. What that looks like in my life, but it's mainly just being present when I can with my wife when she's around. Schedule is huge. Making sure that I'm being present and being available to do those things with my son. Just if that means just taking him to basketball practice or picking him up, I mean, making sure that I'm there, asking him questions, trying to be well-rounded as a person. As much time and effort that I put into my business, I need to be keeping that with my family as well, because that's part of the reason why I'm doing all this. So.
Yeah. The scheduling's huge. That's always been a big thing for us. Like I spend the same periods of time with my wife every day. Right. And that's like blocked off on my calendar, which is, I guess, like not a romantic thing, but I don't know. I'm not from fucking Italy. Like I'm trying to run a business, right? I don't need to like be spontaneous all the time. That's fine. So no, that makes sense. And then it's like with the meditative stuff, I know we kind of rip on mindset, things like that on the show pretty regularly, but that's because like a lot of people, they do those things and they don't do anything productive, right? You're the opposite. Do you mind kind of diving into how exactly that helps you, or like how, that helps you focus or be a little bit more balanced?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know if I don't believe in the ADHD kind of, label that's been placed on all of us, right? Because I look at that and I say, well, I'm the type of person where back in the day, if we were going to battle or we were going to hunt, like I want to be the guy next to you because I have all the energy to do all that stuff and take it all down, right? But with that, the mind is always going, and it just helps me kind of regather. Because I liked your post the other day where you're like, any entrepreneur's day starts out with one tab open and there's like 15 by lunch. Totally get that, right? But at lunchtime, I'll sit there, meditate for a half hour. It just seems to calm the nerves, calm the energy around me. And then I get back in it and refocused, and I can just hit it hard again for another 6 hours.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, and I think the key too is, meditation, or what that is. I think it's the fact that you are slightly breaking up the routine and it forces you to reset, right? And that's different for everybody. For some people, that's going for a walk. For some people, that's like, breathing and meditation. Like for you, for me, that's a workout. Like I vary my brain, I notice if I don't take like my midday workout period, doesn't even matter if I'm like doing a heavy lifting session or I'm just doing like a little, hit workout. Going through that process reframes my focus because it is a consistent routine. I think the brain ultimately thrives on that.
Yeah, that's where
I think you need to break up the work. I mean, even if like studying, like going back to like relatable things, if you just go balls to the wall for 8 hours a day, there's no chance to recharge at all. And then there's this breaking point where even if you did, it's not going to get you to the point where you were at previous to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, and everyone's had that experience of where you have something that you, for some reason, felt like took you all morning. And then you realize that you didn't actually do any of it. And then you take a break and you come back and you do the whole thing in like 15 minutes. You're like, well, shit, that was dumb. Yep. What if I just had done that at the beginning of the day? I wouldn't have had to worry about it all day. So,
yeah.
Going back to the business a little bit, Shane, I would say like is there a specific tool, a person, or a system that you've hired or implemented since doing this that has been like the biggest leap in your business?
I would say leap so much, but just as the CRM is huge. I mean, that houses everything. That's been the tool that I probably use the most. Besides like our mail house and our data, where we pull data from. I would tend to think that's been the largest tool per se that I use in the business.
Are you using the CRM for any other tasks other than follow up? And what I mean by that is like they have a dialer feature or they have a list stacking feature. Are you using anything else inside of that?
Yeah, we did actually use the dialer when I had a VA. It's just a single line dialer. Yep. She ended up getting a deal the second call out. We got a pre foreclosure. Yeah, there's no Liz Pendens even hit, and the lady, we called her off a absentee vacant list, I think is what she hit on. And she was like, yeah, I don't know. I haven't lived there for over a year and haven't been paying or anything. And they just hadn't got around to filing the Liz Pendens. So it didn't show up on a pre-foreclosure. And literally they did that like 3 weeks after we got it under contract. And she said she was getting like flooded with phone calls.
Blown up. Yep.
Yeah.
Of course. Yep.
Yeah. But so yeah, that's I like winning the lottery right there. Like that's like, I don't know, renting a tuxedo and find like $100 in the pocket.
Totally.
Right? Like, totally. It's just as pure luck. That's awesome.
Got to play the game to get some lucky. To get lucky.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So awesome, dude. So I guess rest of the year, what is your plan for growth? You have anything like immediate? I know we talked about increasing marketing. Like, what are like your next steps that you're going to need to take to get from where you are at now to where you're hoping to be to round out 2024?
Yeah, it's going to be putting in place those key hires to handle that marketing, increase that I'm going to be putting out there. So I think that's really going to push me into the next level where hopefully I can bump up to 2 to 3 deals a month. If I can hit that, then things are going to become a lot easier. My disposition process is looking pretty good. Like I said, I have buyers right now just waiting, calling me like, hey, where's the deals? Nice. Where's the deals? So that, like I said, is an extreme point to make sure I'm trying to hit.
With the ramp up, what are you most worried about? What do you think is going to be the biggest struggle?
Making sure that my SOPs are correct and training the people that I hire to perform what I'd like them to do. And when I had the first VA, that really opened my eyes to what that looked like. Now I'm able to prepare a little bit better and go at that again and make sure that person is set up for success.
Yeah. It's never perfect, by the way, and they always change. But you can get as close as perfect as you can. Yeah.
Yeah. Even at our level, there's like little stuff that comes in that you don't even think about. So this is actually a good story. Yesterday, so we have Matt that typically runs our national sales team, right? And he was out yesterday. So I hopped on and I ran it for the first time in probably 4 months that I was like actually the leader in this meeting. We're going through reviewing a deal that one of our sales guys has signed around. And he had some questions about the contract that the guy's been with us like 4 months. There's always a question about the contract. So the seller asked a question, so I was going through clarifying it. I pulled up the contract and I was like, do you always put $0 for earnest money? He's like, yeah. And I was like, why? He goes, well, it's like there was nothing in the onboarding about what to put there. And so I just assumed it would be best if we did 0. This dude's closed like 8 deals or 9 deals in the last 4 months with us never putting earnest money down. I had no idea.
That's pretty wild.
And we've been doing this for years. We've done hundreds and hundreds of deals. I've had a dozen different salespeople. He's the first one to do this, and he pointed out this loophole in our process. So, it is what it is. But hey, that he hadn't gotten questions on it yet, so that's fine. But anyways, really, really good stuff, dude. And congrats on success you've had so far. I love hearing the full story, and those numbers too, man, are awesome. That you 35,000 in, and you already have over 200 grand worth of revenue plus equity coming in. So that's really, really awesome start. Cool. All right. So to wrap up the show here, we're going to dive into our end of show questions. First question: what is your craziest real estate related story?
Well, I had to think back a little bit on this one. I really haven't inquired too much craziness. I did have a property under contract. I had to move like 3 trailers for this guy off his property, and we're moving him out to I think it was his brother-in-law or uncle or something. Anyways, we get to the last trailer, and I got this boat hooked up to my truck. I got it backed in, and all of a sudden this dude's coming out yelling and screaming, and who is this guy? Wasn't out there the first 2 times when we unloaded the other trailers, and my seller's just he's out there yelling and screaming back to him. They're going to fisticuffs. I'm like, oh crap, I'm just trying to get this trailer unloaded and get the hell out of there before somebody starts shooting shotguns, and they were 2 old dudes, they're 60 years old, and they're just I walk over there, yelling and stopped, and they're all just dead tired, bloodied eye, and I'm like, hey man, I'll see you later, I'm out of here, dude. I don't want to deal with this. So that was kind of exhilarating.
Wait, did you figure out why they did that?
Afterwards, I asked him, and he's like, oh, I don't know. He just gets all up in arms sometimes, and he didn't like that I was dropping my stuff off out there. And I had already talked to him, like, yeah, you're staying with him, right? He's like, well, yeah, now I am. Everything's cool, man. It's all good. Like nothing,
Yeah, you just assaulted each other,
yeah.
So I guess that's fine.
Go throw a few punches, and now you're good.
Yeah, that's funny.
Cool, Shane. If you could, one other question for you. If you could go back to the very beginning, what's one thing you would do differently?
Oh man, that's a tough question because I didn't know what I know now. So it's how could I guess if I looked back on it, I would really try and focus more on the wholesale side of things and drop the mindset that I have to do everything with either my own hands or by myself. If I would have just listened more to pretty much what everyone says in the community, I would have been light years ahead on the wholesale side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a hard thing to break, to understand, I don't know, the power of kind of getting out of your own way, right? I don't know where that gets instilled in so many of us, but it's a really, really challenging thing to overcome.
I think with new wholesalers too, they're always afraid of, what if I can't find a buyer? Is the biggest question. Mm-hmm. And so if you are saying I'm going to do it myself, you can ensure that piece of the puzzle a little bit. I think that's something to do with it too.
Mm-hmm, totally.
Absolutely. But cool. And last question, Shane, where can people find you, follow you, and reach out to you?
Don't do too much social, man. Try and stay off that, and not really a part of it. Not part of my business growing stuff yet. Maybe in the future, but I don't know. I got a Facebook page. You could probably find me there.
Yeah. You want to share your company name or email in case if people want to send you deals?
Yeah, sure. It's lunchboxhomebuyers@yahoo.com.
There you go. Cool. Perfect. And I know you're open to doing JVs because you did one with one of our friends out here in Spokane that ended up getting a lead out there.
Yeah.
So I think on that one you guys split a $20,000 fee?
Yeah. I mean, I'm always open to any type of deal structure and doing what I can to provide as much service to anybody that wants to get involved in real estate deals.
There we go. Cool. Right on, guys. So if you guys have any leads in Central Washington area, specifically Yakima, but it sounds like Shane's pretty open to expanding out too, don't be afraid to reach out to him at, was it lunchboxhomebuyers@yahoo.com?
That's it.
There we go. Right on. Cool. Well, Shane, dude, thanks so much for coming on the show. Seriously, again, congrats on your success. And you guys, I hope you got some good value out of this. In case you can't tell, Shane is just a normal dude, just like most of you that are probably not making as much money as Shane is. You might be, but maybe not, because those numbers legitimately blew me away when he gave me that breakdown, because I talked to Shane multiple times a week, but I didn't realize that it was going that well. And so very, very cool, man. I appreciate you sharing. And hopefully you guys got some inspiration out of that. If you didn't, I don't tell you, go listen to Bigger Pockets, where some other 20-year-old with a trust fund bought a bunch of multifamilies. And who fucking cares about that? So, all right, guys, thanks so much for listening, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
See you guys.